Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Better Together podcast for real estate agents. I'm Kiki King.
And I'm Brian Belisican.
And today we are talking about the most exciting topic, data, and the opportunities that it can provide us in real estate.
So we're happy to have today John Jacobson, our Senior Market Real Estate Analyst, otherwise known as JJ. Welcome, JJ.
Hey, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
So JJ, before we start, tell us a little background about yourself and how you became our real estate analyst here at Location.
Oh, okay. It's been a road of experience, actually. I started working for Locations as an admin assistant back in 1990. So, gosh, over 30 years ago. Yeah. And since then, I've been analyzing real estate in the state and especially on Oahu for 30 years. So started as an admin assistant, worked into a real estate analysis and became a market analyst and a senior analyst. And have been doing this for Locations now for on 30 years.
So for 30 years, you have seen all the market trends in the Hawaii real estate industry.
Very true. Yeah, so the market's gone up and down, and even before that, Locations is famous for having research that goes back further than anybody else does. So as I started on board, even in 1990, we were looking at trends 20 years back. So I've lived through several cycles of real estate and seen everything happening. We've been analyzing and evaluating real estate for decades. So yeah, this is no surprise what we're in right now and where we're going.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, our real estate research department is one of the things that sets Locations apart from the rest. And one of the questions that I've been dying to ask you is, since COVID happened, the real estate market has continued to surprise us. When COVID first started, everyone thought the real estate market would tank, and it just took off. And now that society and, the economy, the world is and interest rates are kind of getting back to pre-COVID status somewhat. I'm curious as to what your best educated guess is as to what you think will happen in the real estate market in Hawaii over maybe the next year or two.
Well, the signs point to, and I like to think of it as normalizing, that it's coming back to a more normal market. So over the long term, Hawaii real estate has had somewhat of a stair-step pattern where we've had flat periods and then we've had upswings where sales have driven prices. And that occurred for many decades in almost like a 10-year swing. And it got out of that pace in the last maybe 20 years or so, where we had a fairly steady, sustainable increase in price, increase in sales, a fairly steady, moderate sales market that was supported by low interest rates and more responsible lending since 2008, something like that. And then along comes COVID, and it was nothing that we had ever experienced before. So you're right, we were not sure what was going to happen with the market, and it turned out that COVID had about a 3-month effect on the market. Good for those of us participating in the real estate industry that real estate was what was the term for a protected, it was a essential business, right? So we were able to continue to practice, albeit remotely and through Zoom, so we got better at those kind of things. But it turned out that the market had a lot of strength in it from all sorts of directions. So while we saw a little bit of a dip, we continued to see the market strengthen and strengthen and strengthen, and there was pent-up demand, which is really one of the stories of our real estate market overall, is that we have so much demand for Hawaii housing and so little supply and little possibility of creating enough supply to meet the demand that we are in a continual and perpetual state of lack of supply, and that strengthens our real estate market. It does make some difficulty for some buyers that are looking for affordability, because that gets harder and harder as prices continue to rise. For property owners, for people participating in the real estate market, we're just going to continue to see strength in that market. So yeah, we saw some very unusual conditions in the past couple of years. We saw a surge of demand with people with money in hand, people wanting to get away, the flight to safety, the ability to work from home. All these things push what was already a very strong demand, seeing it first on the single family side and then bleed into the condo side. We saw that surge of demand continue to push the market activity for single family homes into uncharted territory. And so for 2020, 2021, we had supreme competitive conditions where people would just list their home for sale, 7 days, it goes through one open house, and whoosh, gone, right? So competitive offers, bid ups, and that was the environment that we were all operating in for a couple years. So newer practitioners in the market really had no idea what maybe a normal market was, and that simply the normal process was properties stay on the market longer. Some properties have to drop price to be able to achieve a sale. There's some negotiation going on. The typical situation is a lister lists at a particular price they'd like to get, and there's some negotiation going on, and typically they accept an offer a little bit lower. So all that got turned on its ear over the past couple months, or past couple years. And it's changed a bit, and the changes have been fairly abrupt. So that's caused some concern about what's happening in the real estate market. So the overriding reassurance about our market is that there's continued demand and very little supply that will continue to push things. And we're seeing that even as inventory remaining has risen up from extremely low levels to very low levels. Days on market has risen up from extremely low levels to still lower levels than typical, or about where we were, say, 3-4 years ago. And another measure of competitive market is bid ups, properties that are being bid up over asking price. And that it shot up in 2021, 2022. In 22 started to come back down again. Happened rather abruptly, but we still have a strong level. 1 of every 4 homes and 1 of every 5 condos is being bid up over asking price. So there is just one of many examples of demand still in the market. So for practitioners, it is a need to change habit a little bit and to really get to work. It's not so easy as just listing a property for sale. So there's, in the outlook, we're expecting a little bit more normal market conditions, seeing more of the cyclical trend of sales up in the summer and days on market down in the summer, that kind of thing. And largely it's back to work.
Right. You know, and it could be misleading when you see nationwide headlines, the market is tanking, the real estate market is, Hawaii is unique, and it has always been unique, right? Would you say? We survive a lot of different, you know, the mortgage meltdown, the bankruptcies, and Hawaii really is kind of, you know, we dip a little, but we don't get affected as much as the mainland because of our unique market.
Very true, yeah. We're insulated by our unique market, by our demand from populations everywhere, and also not enough supply to meet our local demand. So even just household formation, people moving, change of life, that kind of thing. So that does push prices up, but it also insulates our market from crashing, having any difficulties. And yeah, so that's one of the benefits actually of locations research, of our research department and our market analysis, is that there's a lot of reassurance there for our local business about the security of the Hawaii real estate market and the realities of the Hawaii real estate market, and countering the negative and somewhat inflammatory news that comes from the mainland. We do somewhat follow the same trends. Like following 2008, we had a dip in our market as well, but it was much more subtle compared to the dip on the mainland, where, for example, home prices there went down, say, 20% in some places, and even lower in some places, and we had a dip of less than 7%, and really just took off pretty quickly after that.
Yeah. So when like buyers and sellers, investors looking in Hawaii, that's where research is huge. It's important because they can't take it for face value what they're hearing from where they're on. If they're on the East Coast or the West Coast, they hear the Hawaii market, and while they're hearing that the market's tanking, or you know, there's fear in the market. But Hawaii, we're here and we're doing well. They won't know that unless their agent has all of this research, and a lot of them who wants to purchase here in Hawaii want information, and that's where research can come in.
Truly, truly, yeah. Anybody who's not familiar with Hawaii, even anybody participating in the Hawaii real estate market, needs an informed and educated and experienced advisor in the Hawaii real estate. So not only is Hawaii and Oahu different from the mainland, but then when you get into Oahu, every market is different and every neighborhood is different, and to know what the history is and be able to show the history, it's really powerful for an agent to have those resources.
Right, right. So, you know, speaking about the different neighborhoods that kind of differ in Hawaii, what opportunities would you say that you see in the data, you know, that realtors have access to in this coming market?
Oh, well, that's a good question. So opportunities, I would say, actually are everywhere because different populations look at different things as either opportunities or challenges. So for example, on the condo market, Hawaii Kai Condos is actually softening a bit right now, and there's some opportunity there for buyers looking for deals a little bit more so than there were in the past couple of years. So sellers there are still adjusting, and so for someone looking for a condo, there's opportunities better in the Hawaii Kai condo market than there were before. On another side, Waikiki is remarkably strong right now. So investors usually are taking advantage of shifts in market to shift their assets or to increase their assets. And we've certainly seen that in Waikiki. So Waikiki prices seem like they've been coming down a little bit, but it's really the change in mix. What's been happening is that investor units are flying off the shelf a lot faster than other units in Waikiki. So studios and one bedroom, smaller price, have really tight market conditions in Waikiki. Outside of town, on both the single family and the condo side, there's a lot of opportunities now in Ewa, Makakilo, in Leeward, and Waipahu, and in Mililani, where the extreme competitive nature of the market a couple years ago has shifted quite a bit. So for instance, in Mililani, the number of active listings has gone up in a percentage. It's like 263% increase in availability. So where frustrated buyers couldn't find anything at all, there are pockets of availability now where then they can look. And the good news also, we've seen that, we've heard this from our practitioners on the street, is that buyers are somewhat settled with the current interest rates, that they're accepting of and willing to go forward with the interest rates. So where we were looking at shifting interest rates and highly accelerating interest rates being a concern for buyers and for sellers ultimately, that's becoming less and less a problem as we see interest rates stabilize a little bit and we see that people are accepting these particular rates. And speaking from someone who's been observing the market and analyzing the market for decades, this is no different from where we were a while ago. We had interest rates in the 6% range for several years, and we had interest rates in the 4% range for several years. Those are simply just strengths of the market that have lended us to kind of a strong position where we are right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the condos in Waikiki and all that. So majority of the Waikiki condos have been built in the 60s and the 70s, and maintenance fees are going up. And I have a lot of investor clients concerned about maintenance fees, the ongoing maintenance, now that the infrastructure is deteriorating and now they need upgrades. For your research, you could segment out those information that could be useful for anyone's agent who's looking at buying, looking at trends, because you can't really get that kind of data from anywhere, right?
It's difficult. Technically, there's a lot of information that's available to every realtor through the MLS system. So a lot of this valuable information that we're analyzing is there at people's disposal, but they don't know what to do with it, agents. So yeah, that's another advantage of locations analysis, research, and the tools that we provide to our agents. That's a good example, actually, maintenance fees. So one tool that's available to our locations agents are these condo sales tables that have a detailed summary of market activity by every building, every bedroom type, for every market area. So in Waikiki, you can look at one bedrooms, studios, two bedrooms, and all the buildings that are having sales, and there, right in the report is how old the building is, what their maintenance fees are, their taxes, the size of the unit, the price per square foot. So there's a lot of market activity right there to help the agent understand what's happening in that segment of the market and to be able to communicate with the client, share some information that makes the agent the expert.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's really great. I mean, speaking of that, the resources that Locations has, especially in the realm of data, do you have any examples of other agents and how they've been able to use the data that our research department provides to win more listings, to help their buyers secure the properties that they're after?
Yeah. So these come by all the time, hearing little success stories about using some of the regular research and materials that are available, like our web charts that are available to every agent. That's a great communication tool. And often I'm hearing that a particular agent is sharing it with a client, and that helps keep them in the communication link. So when they're ready to transact, then they do. So there's some regular resources that are available that our agents use that make them top of mind. And those are a little bit harder to peg to a specific sale or anything like that, because it strengthens their position with a client, and then when the client is ready, then they are the one that they think of. But there's also examples where we've done some specific stuff, some specific analysis for a client that has turned out to really make the difference. We have a lot of stuff that helps in competitive listing situations, showing how locations outperforms the industry in all sorts of measures that make locations a good choice for listing or for helping buy. And some recent examples, an agent going for a competitive listing in Hawaii, and looking at the particular unit that was available for sale, we were able to provide the agent with some analysis showing sales by bedroom type and also by frontage. So showing those with golf course, those without golf course, those were on greenways, so not really golf course, but had some exposure and some separation from other units. And all of those sub-segments of this particular neighborhood perform differently. So being able to see how different size of units and different configuration of units prices out made the difference for this seller, for this agent. He sent it a little early to his client, and by the time it came to the actual competitive listing interview, he was told as he came in the door, you don't even need to talk. I didn't see this from any other agent. This is absolutely amazing. And so they went right to work on selling the unit. And that kind of material has helped him twice, actually. So within Hawaii, he's secured another listing in the same way. So there's just a couple examples of how we hear this all the time.
That is awesome. Having that data available of the micro neighborhoods, there's neighborhoods within neighborhoods, right? So, and exactly, and knowing that, having that information is valuable to a listing agent as well. So they know how to correctly price it, not overprice it, price it to what the market and the true value is. And it also even helps with the appraisals when you're providing comps. Now you have even added more information other than just the MLS comparables, but now you have actual data showing that golf course frontage or ocean frontage is totally different from one block, another house being 1 block away, but it's not worth the same, right? So
yeah. That's another highlight of one of these tools, our AVM, our locations LHV, Locations Home Valuator, right? And so this is a competitive market analysis tool. It is a valuation tool. Already out the gate better than mainland tools because it takes a lot of local characteristics into account. View, ocean, tenure, property type, making sure that that's good as well. And so that feeds into this evaluator that then produces several comps. And yeah, this can be a foundation for perhaps getting an adjusted appraisal. Is then you have some material that shows very definitely these specific comps and the results of that. Yeah. So that's actually a useful tool for me as well. I look at that as well. When I'm looking at trying to help an agent value a property, then that's a good starting point.
Yeah, and it's way easier when you can justify with actual data rather than just hearsay and says, I think it's worth more. It doesn't mean anything, but having that research.
Yeah, that showing is actually one of the great strengths of our locations research, is being able to show. And somehow even a chart or a table makes you the expert. So when you as an agent are sitting with your client, first of all, you can use the material to educate yourself. But second, and most important, when you're communicating with a client and you hand them a chart that shows what's actually happened up until yesterday in a particular market or neighborhood, or show them that certain neighborhoods perform differently, that is the law and the rule. It becomes reality, and you are the one, the agent are the one that's conveying that. So it strengthens your position as a trusted and experienced advisor.
And one of the jobs of a great agent, a real estate agent, is to provide as much data as much as possible so that the client themselves can make the correct decision that's right for them, right?
Good point, right. You're an advisor helping the client make an informed decision.
Absolutely. Yeah, and especially with all of the data that you're talking about, I feel like that is one of the key factors as to why locations agents are able to sell their listings more quickly than, compared to the
rest of
market,
the industry, yeah.
Right? Or even help their buyers to get into contract more quickly than the rest of the industry. And so that data is very valuable, and so are you, JJ. JJ's our secret weapon. So any other advice, JJ, that you would like to offer to our viewers out there who are watching this episode, and our viewers are real estate agents out there in the industry?
Well, I would love to share everything that I have with you and help you in your job as well, but our efforts are tuned to locations agents, and I can tell you all the wonderful things that we have that support our agents, and would love to also get some testimony from the many agents that I hear from. Many I don't hear. They go on about their business and are building their business off the success that's supported by locations research, and we never hear about it. So some of it is just in our system as well. I like the tools that are built into our system that help agents without them having to do anything, like our NECE, Neighborhood Expert, Condo Expert, where you put your client in a system where they are then updated on what's happening in their neighborhood. So anytime there's a listing change or a price change or new information in a neighborhood, they get an email branded to you that then shows them what's happening, keeps them up to date, and keeps you present in mind. And these kind of things happen automatically. Once you put a client into CRM and then they start getting these emails, you sometimes don't communicate with this person. I hear this from agents all the time. And out of the blue comes this person that perhaps you hadn't really interacted with in maybe a year, couple years, and they say, "Thank you very much for sending me this information. I'm ready, I'm thinking about selling now." And then the conversation begins and the transaction happens. So these things that support the agent kind of behind the scenes, I think these are wonderful surprises as well.
Yeah, there's one thing you didn't mention, but it's super helpful for an agent is when in marketing and farming. You know, we look at marketing and farming, and the geo farms especially is like a big whole pool, and you're fishing everywhere. But with research coupled with geo farming, then it's powerful. Now you know where to fish, where's the higher turnover rates. You know, where is it shifting in prices? Where are the opportunities? Where are people more selling in comparison to people who are just settled in and not selling, right? That kind of research is important when you geofarm, right?
Yeah, farming is a good example also. Our marketing department has a lot of assistance they provide to agents in that regard. Finding the gold, finding the nuggets. So not only helping with the communication, but then finding the target to send it to. You're sending something to, you have a message for or want to help, say, seniors that are in the process of perhaps downsizing or down right-sizing. You can find through our marketing department all the people in a particular neighborhood that are seniors by their home exemption, living at home and haven't sold their home in, say, 10 years or something like that. And so within a neighborhood or several neighborhoods, then you have a target population of 100, a couple hundred, where you can directly communicate with them. Yeah, it's very powerful.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for being here with us today, JJ.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
It has been such a pleasure talking with you today. And I hope that, obviously, all of you out there watching this episode, that you can see how much data is important to the successful career of a real estate agent, and how fortunate Locations is to have our very own dedicated research department. So thank you for continuing to stay tuned to the Better Together podcast for real estate agents. I'm Kiki King.
And I'm Brian Balisacan.
And continue to keep watching for more episodes and more content on how to build a thriving and well-rounded real estate business. Thanks, JJ. See you next time.
Aloha.